and comments.
Yeah, I'd like to speak. Yeah, thanks. Doug Havens, City of Lewiston resident and also Nestor County Commissioner. I mentioned to Commissioner Beck that I was going to come and say a few things, and then I'm going to leave because I don't need to work for the agenda. But since there's so many new faces here, things change over the years. I was on this board when I was mayor of Lewiston and council form of government mayor of Lewiston, and then county representative. I might be the longest serving person on there, adding those two together. So anyway, what I wanted to do was, and I know urban renewal is a hard concept to grasp. I think it took me a couple years to really understand how it worked. So I don't know where you guys were all in your, I know this old gentleman here has been around for a long time and has it just down pat, so probably a wealth of information. But I wanted to read you a couple things that I collected over the years, comments that people had made, and about the urban renewal as it moved along. It really was created in the late 90s, but it really didn't start with the big projects until '05. And at that time, Jeff Nessett was council manager for mayor. And he pointed out that when these first projects were recommended to do, that a certain amount of money was going to be taken out of the city budget and directed towards these projects. So he realized that that is city money that was part of the budget and now is going to be out of the budget. And he pointed out in minutes of '05, October, he said, Chairman Nessett, and he was chairman at the time too, and I served as chairman too, as mayor. Chairman Nessett pointed out that that's still $47,000 that would have to come from other sources, meaning the city's not going to cut their budget. They're going to have to find $47,000. Granted, the budget for the city was probably $10 million back then, a lot more now. So, which really the only option they have is to raise taxes. So they would have to raise taxes to make up for that money that's being diverted. 2011, Dan Marr said, the Urban Renewal Agency needs to come up with projects to spend money on, or it has to turn the money back to the entities that normally would receive it, meaning the taxing entities, city, county, port, small portion to the port. So that's a direct relationship. That's where the money is coming from. It's coming from the taxing entities. Patty Weeks, just last year, said we were able to sustain not taking a 3% increase in FY21 due to new construction solely from the closure of the downtown URA. We didn't have to take a tax increase because the closure of the downtown meant more money's coming in. So that's the direct relationship of the tax dollars. It's not, or these monies, it's not just created from somewhere. It's actually coming out of budgets for the taxing entities. Sometimes I think people lose track of that. How much money is actually coming out of taxing entities now? Miss McLaughlin prepared this for me in December of last year. County, city, school, district, general road, bridge, port, totals over 1.5 million is now being taken out of the city, the county, and a bunch of other agencies. So that it's really important when you propose these projects that they're projects that the city and the county really would do, not just some idea that well, it'd be nice if we had this done. They ought to be up ranked high because you're taking money away from the taxing entities and making them, putting them in a position where they may have to raise taxes. The county may have to, fortunately we haven't, 2 of the last 3 years we haven't. But I'm not sure the city can say that. Because it puts them in a position where they need revenue coming in, but revenue is going out for projects. In fact, I watched part of the city council meeting last night, and I know Rick was there, Hannah's here, and I was surprised when somebody asked, it was about the firehouse, I was surprised when somebody asked, hey, where's the revenue coming from that we're putting away for this firehouse? And the treasurer, the accountant, I'm not sure what her title was, she said, well, we dedicated money from a closure of a URA district. So all that money coming in now is going to some account that was set aside for the firehouse. So the city has use for the money, just as the county does. So that was a surprise to me. I did not realize that. So you actually have a huge responsibility. You may be unelected, but it's a huge responsibility of the recommendations you make to the city council that says, hey, we think this is a good project, because the city's going to have to give up tax revenue in order to support that. So I just wanted to, it wouldn't be much different than me saying, hey, out of every one of your checks, I'm going to take $20. I have a right to take $20, and because I know what to do better with it than you guys do. It's not much different than the county has to sit back and, yeah, I guess. We just take it, and that's why sometimes we end up in court. So that's really, I just wanted to stress how important it is to really make sure you know where your tax dollars are going, and that you may be partially responsible for tax increases if you are approving projects that is diverting money away. And in closing, I'll just say this. I see you have election of officers on your agenda. Mayors have served as chair for this for many years. I totally disagree with the attorney's opinions. Attorney's opinions are just opinions. I don't think it's been challenged. And I follow a lot of URA cases. I would not, I feel bad for the new folks coming on, because you're put in a hell of a position. You're going to have to chair a committee that you may not even understand what all's going on yet. I know they say there might be a conflict with an elected person, but if it's that tight of a conflict, if it is really that close, just recuse yourself from the vote. It doesn't mean you have to recuse yourself from running the meeting. Just run the meeting. That's all the chair should be doing anyway, is running the meeting. So I 100% disagree with that. I think the attorneys have just stepped out of bounds on this. I also don't agree with the amount of money you guys pay for attorneys. So much money in the URA is diverted for attorneys, just a host of things that it was never intended to go for. I don't like when money, taxpayer dollars, are being used to pay for things that it really shouldn't be paying for. My comments.
Well, thank you.
You got any questions? Anything about anything I've said? If you ever need information on URA, I got a stack about that big, and that's where I dug out all this junk stuff. History.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Understood. See you later.
Any other citizen comments? Okay. All right, so I guess we'll close citizen comments and move down to the next item on the agenda, which is corrections or additions to the agenda. And it sounds like from talking with Jen that Douglas Law PLLC, we need to table that invoice. So we will cross off D1 from the agenda and just renumber Presnell Gage will now become 1 and Elon Burke will now become 2. Is there any other items on
Shut
the
my phone
agenda
off and then I leave it.
that need to be corrected? No? Okay.
Thanks.
So with that being the only correction, we will move on to the active agenda, which will be,
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Sure.
but you will need a motion to
Okay.
correct the, or to
Sorry.
amend the agenda. That's okay, I'll just pop up here and.
yes, thank you, because I'm new to this whole thing. So,
Here.
okay, so I guess we'll take a motion to.
I move to approve the active agenda with the deletion as noted.
I will second that.
Second it, thank you. All right, so motion and second it, so we'll move on to the active agenda without being approved. So we'll open it up for election of officers, chairperson and vice chair.
I should update the board on the advice from Megan Conrad, given the current situation with our recent resignation of Ms. Cole Hansen. Her suggestion, after reviewing this recent development, is that she thought that the delegee from the port would have the least likelihood of conflicts. As I mentioned to Shannon before the meeting started, I am going to diverge from Megan's advice. The reason for that is I feel that the difficulties for whoever becomes elected as chair, if they are new to URA, given the complexity of running the URA, that's going to be more difficult to manage than conflicts of interest. So I feel like while it's not ideal to have someone from either the city or the county serve as a chair because of optics as well as the dramatically increased likelihood of conflicts, experience has to be a consideration, because it's really unfair when you join the URA board, you have a lot to learn in terms of content if you don't have a lot of exposure to URAs prior to doing this. To actually sit as the chair, you will be reviewing a lot of books, and you need to understand tax increment financing. You will be running the meetings, you will be interacting with the executive director in terms of what's on the agenda. You may be asked to represent the URA board in various political situations. I believe it's far more than running a meeting. And so from my perspective, that is a bigger concern right now. As conflicts come up, we're just going to have to be careful to screen them out, recognize them, disclose, recuse as appropriate. So I admit I didn't even run that past Megan, because I think she emailed me at 9 o'clock last night. So that's what I have to say about
Great,
that.
thank you. I agree with you. Couldn't agree more since I'm fairly new.
Right, I can't blame you.
I know nothing about the URA. So with that being said, do we just open it up for election of officers then? So we'll start with chairperson. Do we start with chairperson or vice
Yes.
chairperson?
Nomination for
Okay.
chairperson.
So nominations for chairperson are open then.
I would ask if Butch would consider being the chair.
You know, the problem I would have, other than low IQ, the problem I would have is I've got a real hearing disability. And for that reason, I would relate to you that I don't think I should be chair. I have a difficulty in large meeting gatherings and that sort of thing. It's unfortunate that's the way it is. Could be a lot more than that. I mean, I'm fortunate to have good health. For that reason, Joe, I think we can do better. I'm sorry to relate that.
Butch, do you have a nomination you want to make?
Well, I was prepared to nominate Sheila. Quite frankly, she's bright, and she's compelling, and I'm swayed by her campaign talk, seeking the office.
Well, thank you.
Quite frankly, I don't think we ever learn all about URA. It's involved. We understand the basics, and that's important. Doug Havens is urging us to use high priority when we select projects, or don't select just once. I agree with Doug. But I don't think any of us, and I've been on it since the inception, and I don't consider myself an expert. But we have good staff. We're a good team. We care about selecting projects that are wise to do now rather than wait for many years and maybe not do it at all. The projects we've accomplished, starting in North Lewiston, are basic progress in infrastructure for the city of Lewiston. We've not swayed from basic infrastructure. I think we've done well. I don't think a lot of experience is all that essential working together for the common good. Sheila, would you be willing to serve?
If there's no other, I mean, I will be the first to say that I don't know the first thing about the URA. I'm very new to it and learning it, and excited for the opportunity to learn it. If there's no other options, then yeah, I'm fine with serving. I've already shared that with Shannon. you know, I am doing a new job as well, so I am a little bit thin, trying to learn lots of new projects, but, you know, if nobody else is up for the challenge, I'm not opposed to it. You'll just have to be patient with me because I'm not familiar with running meetings and so on.
Sure,
so.
I would totally support Butch's nomination for this.
As would I.
I think you were only about 3 or 4 meetings behind me, or as far as our tenure on the board here.
I would nominate Sheila Bond to be our chair, with the understanding, Sheila, that we'll all pitch in
You'll have
and
to
help
support me.
in any way.
Okay.
Absolutely. I would second.
Awesome. I guess
So-
is there any other option?
You don't have a current officer standing to take, accept the nominations or take a vote. I honestly don't have an answer to this one.
So do I just continue to chair until such time that we can?
What do you, I'm sorry, I missed.
So normally, if you've been nominated, you wouldn't take the vote on your nomination.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So we really just need a, and we don't have a vice chairman at the moment.
I think we just take the vote.
Yeah.
That's what it says in the.
Why don't we do a roll call vote so we have a strong record of it? And if, Shannon, if you take the roll call vote on the nomination for Sheila Bond as chair of the board of the URA.
Okay. Member Towsley.
Aye.
Member Beck.
Aye.
Member Anderson.
All right.
Member Alford.
Aye.
And Member Schweitzer.
Switzer says
Switzer,
yes.
sorry. I knew I was going to get one wrong.
Aye.
You can vote for yourself, can't you?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's not like a ballot, sorry.
And keep in mind, everyone, that this is for the rest of the year, because the bylaws do have election of officers every January.
Yeah.
So now we need to go into vice chairman.
Okay, so we'll open it for vice chairman, for nominations for vice chair.
Now, we do have a relaxing, if you will, of the previous advice that says at-large members are strongly suggested to be the officers. Tim has been to 2 meetings. And so I think considering that for somebody to serve as vice chair from the other agencies would be appreciated.
And just a reminder, Megan Conrad's advice was that in her mind, the next best option is somebody from the port because of the least likelihood of presenting a conflict.
Kind of narrows things
So
down
sorry.
pretty
Can
fast.
I make the nomination?
Okay.
I will nominate you. So it's been nominated, Joe's been nominated. Motion's been made and seconded.
Yes.
Do you want me to do a roll call on that one?
I think so.
Okay. Member Towsley.
Aye.
Member Beck.
Aye.
Member Alford.
Aye.
Member Bond.
Aye.
And Member Switzer.
Aye. Aye, you guys
I guess I
got
should have
that
said
right.
Chairperson Bond. I apologize.
All right, so with that being said, it looks like we have a new chairperson and vice chair. Do I need to name those? Or
No,
we just-
you're good.
okay. So we'll move on to the next items. For the approval of minutes of the April 11th, 2023 approval of minutes. I don't know if everybody's had an opportunity to review those minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the April meeting as mailed.
Okay, one
I didn't
second.
find anything wrong with them, so I'll second that.
I have proposed changes.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
we have some
Yeah,
changes.
some change.
I proposed changes. Of course, the board is free to accept or decline them. If you look on page 3, there's where it says Chair Cole Hansen stated that she believed there is not a 50-50 cost share for either of these projects, then the URA should move forward. I think a little explanation about her, where she was coming from, is she was saying that other entities, Lloyd, for example, has been required to cost share, and so there was some discussion regarding fairness considerations.
I remember that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you go down to where it says Jennifer Douglas stated that they could not contract with anyone until there is a bidding process. Just a little more detail here. If the URA approaches one landowner that is affected, then the URA should approach all similarly situated landowners with information cost-sharing possibilities, again, because of fairness considerations. And the idea behind that is if you have one large landowner or someone who has higher value property, you still wouldn't want them to necessarily just be tagged for paying for a portion of something that benefits a bunch of other surrounding landowners as well.
I'd make a motion to approve the
Approve those
amended
amended changes.
minutes.
What is the amendment though? That
Yes.
was a lot.
Yeah,
Gotta kind
so
of
here's,
break down.
You have to narrow this down for
Yeah.
the secretary,
okay, so
please.
if approaching one landowner should treat all similarly situated landowners the same, provide info, cost-sharing possibilities, again, because of fairness considerations, or just because of fairness considerations. And I can write that out.
Okay, so if you
So
can
that
submit
I
that to Dawn,
provide it.
that'd be great. So you'll make a motion.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's a motion, and do we have a second? To make
Second.
changes to the minutes? Okay, motion and seconded? To approve the minutes with the changes that Jen Douglas will provide.
That was the motion to amend.
Oh,
For next time,
Yeah, so we'll,
for next time.
yeah, or we'll move those to next time to approve.
Oh, so you're not going to approve them with those changes? You want to
Yeah.
see them again? Okay.
Well, we could
We could do it
make
now.
a motion to, if it's correct.
No, why don't you table them? She has enough
Okay.
in there that we should probably just table them.
Okay, so we'll table those till next time, and then we'll review them again with those changes that were proposed by Jen.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show my ignorance here.
Okay.
So how would the URA reach out to the affected parties? How does that
I already
take
did.
place? Oh, you did?
Yeah,
So
there's
you-
only 3 of them.
Public notice
Yeah, we
or
did.
No.
just letter, individual letter?
No, I called them, talked to them, yeah. So we'll get to that when we get to the East Main
Okay.
portion.
All right, so with that,
So I actually probably need to withdraw a motion that I had moved to approve these.
Yeah, we went ahead and
Yeah.
tabled it. We'll table it to
Table.
May.
all right, so moving on, we're tabling the minutes, so we're moving on to the approval of the financial summary of April 2023, and that is in your packets.
And Madam Chair, I'll just point out that we did change this on the agenda to an information item.
Okay.
The reason being, if you approve them, then that means you're taking responsibility for them,
Okay.
if you approve them. So we're gonna provide these though as information for
Okay.
you. And put them in the packet so that they're, part of the public documents for anybody to see if they would like to. So if there are any questions about them, I can answer those for you, but these, you do not need to make a motion.
Okay, perfect. So we'll review the fiscal year 2023 April financial statement, if anybody has any questions.
Yes.
And staff question, when is our annual payment on the bond due?
Typically in August.
August.
Yes.
The first or the last?
I think it's the last, but we will.
And that's the bond for $1,493,479 listed on the back.
Yes.
Just off the top of your head, so we paid an additional $300,000 on principal last year, is that
That is correct.
correct?
Yes. So you can see that little box there says the balance of bonds outstanding of 9/30/22. The Banner Bank balance has that 1,089,000. Right above it,
Oh, okay.
in the green.
box.
Green box.
Green
Oh,
box,
Vanderbank,
yeah.
that was okay.
Yeah.
Right there.
All right, is there any questions or any other?
So it's an information item only.
Correct.
Information item only, no motion. All right. With that being said, we'll move on to, we're moving Fresno Gage up to item number 1. So we'll review Fresno Gage 2022 financial statement. It's an action item for $4,300 in your packet. And this looks like it is for the financial statements for the audit that was completed at the end of September 30th, 2022 for the amount of $4,300.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been,
Every year, 43.
so we have a motion and a second, so that item has been approved to pay. The next item on the agenda is Elam and Burke URA training session. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I will get this down eventually. Okay, so moving on to Elam and Burke, we have a URA training presentation. It doesn't look like they charged us.
They didn't. I included it just so you knew
Okay.
that the work that Megan had done she met with me, met with Jennifer, then they did the training, as you know, and I just wanted to let you know that they did send us an invoice, but they are doing it pro bono.
Oh, that's very nice.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I would say that we thank them for the training and ask them to update
Update the,
the staff name on the letterhead.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so I guess we'll move on to the biggest item, which is the East Main RAA number 4. And I'll turn this over, I guess, to Shannon to give us information about where we left off, about reaching out to those individuals in that area. It sounds like she's done that, made that contact, so I'll let you take over and kind of share with us.
Yeah, so just a reminder of where we're at. East Main had 2 projects remaining in the plan. It was the pedestrian path from basically the Red Lion to, the Hell's Canyon Grand Hotel to the Levee area through Ray Road and ITD right-of-way. The board at the last meeting wasn't so interested in moving forward with that one. We were really looking at the water line along Mill Road from about Lapway to the city limits line. So recall that there's basically 3 or 4 properties, right? You have Railroad, Coleman, West Con, Nez Perce County. So this water line does exist, it's just that it is undersized and in some places 3 inches and old. So oftentimes, or what has happened in the past, is that the URA and the city have gone halvesies on a lot of these projects, thinking that any buy-in from the city, it's their line, where the URA is helping with that. That is not policy of the URA. The URA, as you know from that training, can set certain policies. This is not one of them, but it has been a common practice. The city obviously has some water issues going on right now. This is not high on their priority list, and so they're saying, yeah, it's a fine project, it's just not something that we can contribute to right now. Is there possibilities in the future that they could contribute to design? Possibly. I should mention that this URA is open. The term of it is August 2029. So you don't have 20 years left on this
So we've
thing.
got a few years
You have a few years, yes.
to get the increment up.
Correct. And when I did kind of a very high-level analysis, this project, the city is guessing in today's dollars that this project would be about 1.8 million. When I did a high-level analysis of increment built over time, if the URA were to build this themselves, you don't cross into the 1.8 million until 2027. And even then, we're talking 2023 dollars, 1.8 million. It's kind of unknown what it would be in 2027, but you can guess that it's gonna be more. At the end, you're looking at about 2.1 million. Now, this is very conservative, I will admit that, but I feel like it's better to be conservative when we're looking at a project like this, especially when it's tight, if you will. So the URA asked me to reach out to property owners. I personally didn't talk to all of them, I will, full disclosure. I did personally talk to, the one that we were kind of the most interested in was this big piece of property right here. And it's owned by Westcon, and I did talk to the owner, Case. And so he owns other property to the south of this. There is actually a water stub at the south portion of this property that could be served. it doesn't look like it on this map, but this property has a topography that goes really straight up. And so we chatted about it, and he said, no, that's really not something I would be interested in doing. I personally did not talk to Coleman's, but a colleague of mine did. When this plan was written, this was back in 2017, 2019 time, pre-COVID, okay? And at the time, Coleman Oil, prior to this, Coleman Oil was looking at doing some improvements to the site, but could not because of fire flow or lack thereof. So talking with them today about the interest of putting in with this line, not really something that they're really interested in. So, and then railroad is kind of off. They don't need this. So what we're looking at, Nez Perce County is set.
Who'd you talk, did you talk to somebody in Nez Perce County?
I did not.
We'll probably discuss that, the three of us.
Meaning discuss if you wanted to put in part of the money for this line?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I can't guarantee anything.
Okay. So that's the information, and so you are still at these options.
So I guess what we need to decide today is if we're going to move forward with closing the project or move forward with keeping it open and collecting increments still? Is that what I'm hearing, to potentially do it before August 2029? Is that kind of what?
That's somewhat true, yes.
And so, Madam Chairman, I have a staff. I got a little lost. The 2.1 million, is that what you estimated the cost would be, or that's what we would collect in our increment?
That's what you would collect by the end.
By the end.
By the end, yes. So you don't have it today. That's what you would collect by the end. Again, pretty
Yeah.
conservative.
We have 396,000 right now in that
Yeah.
bucket.
Yeah, I'm not sure the motivation of proceeding if entities around it don't seem interested in that being done.
Well, this is a new piece of information from the county. So your options today are, you can say, we don't think this is a viable project moving forward. We also don't think that the pedestrian project is a viable one moving forward. We are going to move to close this RAA. You could wait for the county to say, yeah, we are an interested partner, or no, we are not an interested partner, and just table it until next month if you need a month to have that conversation.
Just so you know, our first priority is the new courthouse. So we're looking at,
Oh, is that you guys doing that?
Can I interject one thing? Just after listening to Doug, who is with the county, it sounds like they would prefer to have the money back from that conversation that he just had. So I'm not sure if that would be viable. Like,
we're gonna be talking about that, but just so you know where we are, we're in the middle of putting that courthouse up, and so that's our first priority. And but if, and I only say if we decide to do that down the road, help out some way down the road, because it benefits our road and bridge.
So you would have to, so what that would mean then is that there's a possibility of a partner with the county down the road, which means you would keep this open.
okay.
You can keep this open, by the way. There's nothing that says you have to close it today. There's nothing that says you have to close it tomorrow or even a year from now. It is open, and you can still work towards this project, whether or not you get a partner for it. You can make, you know what I mean? I don't want to make you feel like you have to make a decision today.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we table this and just keep the project open until we get more information or reach a critical mass on the funds.
Okay. Do you want me to just kind of keep it on the
Yeah, I
agenda
think
then
so.
every time? Okay.
So does that require a motion to keep it on the agenda?
In a second.
which, I'm sorry, I should have
It's
asked
just
that later.
table. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll
You
just
have a
table
motion
that
to
until
table.
next time, until we hear back from the county whether they are a viable partner in the project. And then we'll revisit next time whether,
If you keep it open, you could, also, the city could come in later on too, and maybe they're not bringing cash, but they're saying, we'll design it for you, or something like that. We are bringing it to your attention now just because previous chair wanted to say, well, where are we at with these?
yeah.
With these,
I think that's a
and
great
I do think, especially after Commissioner Haven's comments, it's good to keep them fresh in our minds. The plan was then to talk about downtown as well, and so we can continue on with this conversation, see where it's going, and I can bring information to you about downtown in the May or June meeting.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
To review.
Yeah, we need to all revisit the plan
Yeah.
since we're all new.
Yep.
At least I do. All right, so with that being said, then, oh, sorry, Butch. Go ahead.
Well, I think it makes sense to keep it open,
Yeah,
and I don't think we're ready to move forward on the path, which would be nice, or the water line, obviously. I would favor the motion.
all right, so we're
Was
gonna,
there a second? Did you second it, Don?
we're
I'll
gonna,
second it.
yeah, we're gonna
You did
table it
second.
for next time. It'll be on there next time.
Yeah.
So, all right. With that being said, we'll move on to, is there any other discussion on that? No? Okay, then we'll move on to unfinished and new business.
Did we need to vote?
No, I think we're good
No.
now. We're good,
Okay.
because we're just tabling it, so. All right, we'll move on to unfinished new business, board member comments. Anybody have any comments?
I will not be here in June. A noon meeting would be, well, it actually might be one of the easier meetings for me to make, but I don't think I'm gonna be in Europe, so.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, so,
Can we go with you?
Sure. Sure. I already got it all planned out and booked, so I won't be here
Okay, well, thank you for
for the
letting
June
us
meeting.
know.
I will make an attempt. I don't know how big of an attempt. I will make an attempt to try to zoom in.
All right,
June 13th is the
next meeting.
I think the
That's
odds are at best
dedication.
50.
June 13th?
Yes.
Oh, no, can't do that. It's
And
my
I-
wife's birthday.
I should, even though it's not, I'm staff, I'm just gonna say this. I should bring this up. In July, both Katie and myself are in Boise during the regularly scheduled meeting of the URA. And so I believe that we have to do budget items in July. And so we'll be looking to the board to find an alternative date
Okay.
for the July meeting.
What
Is that
kind
in
of
June
range?
or July?
July,
July.
What kind of range
like the next week.
the following week?
Mhm.
Which would be the 18th.
The week of the 18th, yeah. So we'll put out, I think, we'll put out a
So you'll
We'll put out a poll, see what works for everybody.
Okay.
How about that?
That works good.
Okay.
All right, any other board comments?
One comment here. Commissioner Havens appeared to level a little bit of a blast at the dollars that we spend on attorney fees. And I think I think we need to recognize that our dollars spent on attorney fees, Jennifer, are an investment, and they're a wise investment. And for one, I can whine with anyone else about attorney fees, but let's accept that it's a wise investment by this board and the responsibilities we have. So Jennifer, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other comments?
Concur, I concur.
Yeah, I concur too. I think that's a great point, so. All right, is there any staff comments?
Oh, sorry, I already made my staff comment.
Okay, well, Joanne's not here to accept her plaque, but we
She
do want
isn't.
to, we do want to acknowledge her.
Yes, 10 years,
Oh, my goodness.
and she missed one meeting.
Oh, my
She shared with
gosh.
me today,
Wow.
she missed
Oh,
one meeting, and it was
wow.
because of her her father.
Oh.
And so today she has resigned from the board and is able to make it today because of her mother. And so, but she was grateful that, you know, she really did want to be here today. So we will get her
We'll
back.
miss her and appreciated her service for sure. I mean, I'm not going to be able to follow in her steps very easily because she had lots of experience and I'm very new, so.
We're all learning with
Yeah,
you,
so
Sheila.
anyway, but we do appreciate her and want to acknowledge her and her. What's that?
I'm sorry, I had something else.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it too late? No, you've
Nope,
already
you-
gone through.
you
Is that
can-
okay if I
you're
jump back?
I think comment section, you're probably safe.
You're good.
All right. As you know, the Library Foundation is having their annual gala, and as the liaison for the city council, I was voluntold that I would be selling tickets to that. So if anyone is interested in purchasing tickets, please let me know, and I'll be happy
When is
to
that?
do that. It is June 10th. And it will be, the doors open at 5:30, and it'll be on the terrace at the library.
Will you be in Europe?
I will be, but I did buy 2 tickets
You
for
gonna
my
zoom into
for my
that?
son and his wife.
There you go.
Yeah,
Got it
no,
covered.
June 10th, not July 10th.
June 10th.
It is a fun celebration. I already have my 2 tickets,
Good.
in fact, in hand.
Good.
Or else I'd buy from you.
All right.
It's
It's not like Girl
only-
Scout cookies.
It's not only a fun event, it's a way to demonstrate, in a fun way, support of the library. And libraries today need help.
Madam Chair, I might take a minute to go back to the plaque.
Sure.
We in the county realize that we're spending tax dollars when we buy plaques to give people, so what we do is donate. And I'd be willing to donate the cost of that, just so it's not looked upon as a debt that's we're taking out of taxpayers' money. So I think that's something we need to really investigate in, because there have been issues. I know we've talked about it in our ICRIMP training about gifts and plaques and recognition, and so where the money's taken from, we have to be real careful that we're not taking taxpayers' money to pay that, so.
I'd go in on a share with you.
I would too.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I,
So
All right, so
let us know how much it was, and I'll be.
And as far as prior plaques, for this organization, if I recall correctly, they were funded by donation, because I remember it coming up if it's useful to,
Okay.
from just an informational.
It's been done both
Purpose.
ways,
Yeah,
because I know that we've paid for.
well, just be safe, I think.
Yeah. All right, well, we can visit with that afterwards and figure out if we need to do any donation type thing. But appreciate that comment, and we appreciate Joanne so much and wish she was here to accept that.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, is just to let her know that we
definitely.
appreciate all her years of service. She was
Actually, I
an
put it on.
excellent asset for the URA for many, many years, so. Anyway, with that being said, is there any other comments? Staff comments?
I don't have any other comments.
Okay, I guess we'll call the meeting closed then. Do we have to have a motion to close it? Okay, so I'll have a motion to close the meeting.
So,
And a
second.
It's been motion and seconded.
It was my second result.
I think it was Joe.
So,
Sorry. We'll get better at this with time. So anyway, with that being said, we'll close the meeting.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I will get that too. All right.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Oh,
congratulations.